Good morning, welcome to today's video. Today is all about the aero gains. We're going to Chris Boardman's wind tunnel this afternoon, but we're starting the day at Velodrome. So here we are at the Velodrome. It's a lovely morning. Guys from AERO coach are down there already. George is late, as usual.
George is late, yeah, he is. Are you surprised?
No. What are they?
Nothing else is cold, just the floor. These are a little project that Jimmy's working on.
Oh, you can't get them on as well?
I know. Look at this hairy walrus.
Morning.
You're late and we've all decided you're fired.
Fine. Right.
Nice job. You alright? Nice trip down?
Oh, mate, no.
Welcome to Hailzone Velodrome. You're going to be riding individually, okay? So we're only going to be collecting data off one of you at a time. Effectively, all your job is just to ride laps of the track, and we'll be making adjustments and bringing you in as and when. First thing we're going to do is just get you guys warming up. It's important to make sure you're nice and flexible and relaxed, and your muscles are a bit warm and all that kind of thing, so that the aero position you're holding is representative of what you do on race day. But it's pretty simple. You just have to press lap a couple of times on a Garmin. But
Press lap?
Yeah.
Lap.
How do you do that on a Garmin?
Lap.
How's the track?
It's nice, actually, yeah. It's nice. Definitely feels steeper on this side. It's a nice track though, it's nice and smooth, especially up there.
Move like a walrus, mate.
Can you see my eyes? Is it scary?
No, I can't see your eyes. You look like Ant.
Captain America helmet, mate.
What is that?
Evil Knievel. Evil Knievel. That's a bell javelin.
Okay.
You can see we take the vents up as well. 9 times out of 10 on this particular helmet, taping up these vents is a little bit better for aerodynamics. So we do it from the start just to give you a bit of extra boost. So we will do normal head position and then head lowers.
Yeah,
like
cool. Sweet.
Cool and sweet. Yeah. Careful. Why this helmet in particular?
So the bell javelin's quite a good helmet for most people. So if you don't have the opportunity to do aero testing, that and the Giro Aerohead are quite good ones start off, and it's relatively cheap as well. You do have to test helmets, unfortunately. We can't just say choose this helmet for every single person. But the Javelin's one that we tend to test on most people because it's quite a good one. So we'll test it on you too.
Sweet.
We're going to do a bit more of a dramatic helmet afterwards. Put the laser wasp on Chris and see how that goes. That's a really long-tailed one. So.
Will that make a big difference on his 24-hour stuff? Because of course, if he's like wobbling around a bit more,
exactly.
I mean, just the length of it, right?
Yeah.
So you see, that looks all right, but I reckon when he drops his head, it's going to close off the gap between the tail and his back. So.
And you don't want that?
No, you do want that.
Oh, you do want that.
Yeah.
What have your guys' findings been on the really, really short-tailed helmet, like the Bambino?
So the Bambino is a funny one because it doesn't test well on a lot of people. But there's a new helmet from Laser, which is called the Laser Victor, which looks very similar to a Bambino if you just look at it from the side, but it tests really, really well. So the shape of the helmet, because the Bambino is quite narrow at the back, but the Victor kind of splays out a bit, and it has this ridge across the top of it, which trips the airflow of your back. All very geeky stuff, but generally speaking, yeah, short-tailed helmets are generally less aero than a long-tailed helmet. But there's a trend these days for short-tailed helmets, so manufacturers have gone for that, and they've now made very good short-tailed helmets. Yeah, Bambino is pretty much a no-no these days.
Really?
yeah, unfortunately. We found it to be quicker on a couple of people. But,
yeah.
You know, we've tested hundreds and hundreds of people, and it's only quicker on a couple.
Only a couple.
Yeah.
That's a big helmet.
Ooh. Get my ears under.
If it doesn't fit, it's fine. We've got loads of others.
So he can cut his ears off.
Yeah.
I like some little bit. There's my little hair tuft again.
I mean, the thing is, for long distance as well. I mean, you were saying this, Francis, having a
that's not
heavy
sustainable,
helmet.
Surely.
Yeah. I mean, it's nice because the tail will sit on your back nicely. Yeah. So you'll know where it is and you get the feedback from it. But
it's one that vibrates if you tilt. So they do one
they do one, but I think it's they chop the back off it and then they have the sensor like hidden in it.
Oh, you look like a Tic Tac. Yeah.
I look like a what?
Tic Tac. Good noise?
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah.
The bell, a lot of wind.
Yeah.
A lot of wind.
This one's quite a nice one. If you look, it looks like a Bambino actually, like you were saying before, but it does. It performs completely differently. It actually performs a bit more like a tailed helmet than a Bambino, which performs like a short-tailed helmet.
Because it's got a slight cone to it, doesn't it?
Exactly, yeah.
So this is no bike adjustments whatsoever. This is just let him lowering his head.
Positional stuff. Yeah. Huge difference there. So lowering your head down, potentially 15 watts of improvement there.
Cool.
So
15 watts.
15 watts just from dropping your head. Now,
shrug.
But I mean, it's like what I said before though, the Aerohead rewards are very, when you have your hands high.
Yeah.
Because it was designed kind of like, with that in mind, like the mannequin they used in the tunnel had a very kind of, it was Rowan Dennis, they had a very kind of tight position. If you can get your head very close to your hands with an Aerohead, that works very nicely. That might not be the fastest combination for you in total, but if you are wearing an Aerohead and you have high hands and you can close it off, we do often see this tipping point where it's like, oh, it's good, oh, it becomes really good. And as you can see, 15 watts is crazy.
Yeah.
How big can the difference between two different skin suits really be?
Skin suits, it can be quite big. Obviously the first thing is fit. You've got to make sure the skin suit fits you. So even if you have like the most expensive possible skin suit you can, having something that has like baggy bits around here or around your hips can really cost quite a lot. But the difference in terms of power output, so we do all of our power savings at 45k an hour, so TT speed. You could be looking at 15 watts or something from the wrong suit. So focusing on that, and that's just the best suits that are currently on the market. There's going to be more suits later on that are going to be better and better and better. So you may see a difference of 20-25 watts between the super suits that you get in the future and things that are on the market now. So it's really important. And as I was saying, the bike is 20% of the drag, 20 to 25%, and the rider is more like 75 to 80%. So you've got to make sure that the surface of the rider is improved rather than a lot of people focus on the bike. Look at the down tube from the front, and it's a very, very small shape and very thin, 30mm wide, whatever. And you imagine covering that with a material. If companies started doing that with their bikes, everyone would freak out and be like, oh my goodness, well this is going to affect the aerodynamics of my bike so much. And you're like, yeah, try adding that to the entire rider, and then suddenly it starts to make a bit more sense.
So you imagine if you cover the down tube of your bike with leg hair, you would just be like, well, of course that's not going to be faster. So that's the reason why shaving your legs makes sense, because you think about how fat a leg is compared to how fat a down tube is. Of course you wouldn't cover your down tube with hair.
And arms if you're me.
Yeah.
Is that Chris's helmet?
No, so it's identical to Chris's helmet, but this isn't Chris's helmet. So what we've done here, the Giro had, they sell two versions of it, a very expensive version and a cheaper version. The only difference between the two of them is that the vents are covered up on the expensive version. That's what we've done.
How does this work?
George just turns around.
Let's cover up the vents.
It's got a vent with a bit of electrical tape, so £1 electrical tape, cover up the vents and cover it at the back as well. Just makes it a little bit faster.
Darth Vader.
Cool. So 2 laps up to speed again, and then retro press.
Yeah, you look great.
A little bit of a cold.
It's a chest infection, I think.
Maybe a chest infection, yes. Probably not.
Probably just cold, mate.
Pretty cold. Children get chest infections.
Clothes on, actually.
Yeah, I'm about to. I need some jelly babies and some fluids, Bronte.
Okay, another one will be arms closer. That's what we're going to do, is just roll your forearms in. Exactly.
What we've done is, because we found that coming forwards on the saddle helps to close off that gap between your hands and your head, that was great, so we've moved the saddle forwards a little bit, 5mm there. We've also reduced your reach by 10mm at the front, and that's because when you were simulating that higher kind of wrist position, that was quite a lot quicker, so we've just pulled your hands back to basically go from here to here. When we did test elbows forward, it was good because it helped to lower your head, but I think that what we'll probably end up doing later on when we go to the tunnel is dropping the front end a little bit. Certainly if we find that pulling you in narrower is better, as you come in, the torso angle will go up, so then we can drop some stackers to put you back to where you were.
It's always an interesting one because like my concern often is if you start to closen up the front end, is that's where you lose the ability to breathe.
Yes, yeah.
And that's something I found in the past.
And certainly for 24-hour stuff, you need to be able to kind of settle into the bike and be able to breathe properly.
Yeah.
But as I was saying before, tiny differences can really add up. So what I want to do now is simulate that slightly elbows in position by, in your new position here, just roll your arms in. So halfway through one of these, like Andy will give you a call and it'll be elbows closer, and I just want you to roll your elbows in slightly. We found before that the SWX TT was a good helmet for you. And lowering your head with that was saving an awful lot. One thing that we did want to play with was increase reach, because that helps to lower your head more naturally. You've got a different position from Chris, and obviously you've got different requirements too. So we can afford to give you a bit more of an aggressive setup compared with Chris. Going forward with your elbows was awesome. So that was nearly 12 watts faster.
Oh really?
And that's
what's that?
Yeah, that's nearly achieving the lower head position, and that's because because you went forwards quite a lot, you're going like this. Because your head just falls.
And suppose I was only coming forward by what, like maybe a centimetre and a half, 2 centimetres? Is that what it is?
All that's up.
Cool, blimey.
So that means that we can move the extensions forward a little bit to achieve that. Just going up with your hands helps to smooth the airflow over your arms. That was 6 watts quicker. Pulling it elbows in is tricky to do.
Yeah, no, really hard.
But it was 3.5 watts faster, so
Okay.
We'll just move the pads in slightly.
Yeah.
Because they are quite wide at the moment.
Yeah.
And then coming forwards on the saddle, you've mentioned you preferred that
Yeah,
from
I
a
did.
comfort point of view.
Yeah.
The reason why I wanted to do that was just because your leg extension was too high.
Yeah.
So there's 2 ways to do it. You either drop the saddle or move it forwards. We may do a combination of the 2 today. But that was quicker as well, mainly because it just changes the shape of your lower back. And you kind of, sometimes you can come a bit more hunched. Elbows forward was good because it drops your head. If you then come forward on the saddle, your head comes up again.
Right.
So we're going to have a play with what combination we'll do there.
Yeah.
I suspect what we'll do is angle the bars up slightly, pull the pads in, give you a bit more reach first, drop the saddle rather than coming forwards on it.
Okay.
And then see where we are.
I assume by let's do it he means George sit still and have some more jelly babies. The Enduro skin suit
Yes.
that I wanted,
Uh,
not allowed anymore.
Yeah, I mean they for UCI I've changed it so you can't have stuff that's higher than 1 mil and you can't have stuff that's printed on top.
Wowzers.
Yeah,
Skin suits.
skin suits.
Why do the
jerseys
UCI
as
do
well.
this?
The UCI
They like
Idiots.
keep
everyone
on their
guessing.
toes.
Keep
Yeah.
everyone guessing. Yeah, exactly.
it's gone.
It's all right for us. I mean, we're already in the process of doing fabrics, so and that's woven fabrics rather than actually printing stuff on top. So all the work that we've done for the last few months is okay, which is great. But yeah, the UCI will chuck a spanner in the works because if it hadn't been, then we'd be it's a lot of we're stuffed. I mean, for UK TTs, do we like
Not an issue.
But it means that stuff like that will stop getting produced because there's no market for it.
I've got a question.
Yep.
Is he silly for putting kind of half-assed aero covers on his shoes and then wearing aero socks instead of just wearing full aero things?
So the fastest combination would be to cover the shoes entirely with something like a VELODROME, so to get rid of all this, because you've still got stuff going on here that's not particularly aero.
And is VELODROME the kind of most used, most common?
It's not very nice to wear because they tend to break quite a lot, so it can get
Sweaty.
quite expensive. It's sweaty as well.
It would be even faster, but the amount of times you put VELODROME on it just rips.
It's like £10
or
per
you spend
race.
14 minutes trying to put the buggers on.
Entry fee £10,
Single use.
VELODROME £10. Yeah.
Whereas
But no,
that-
something like a shiny Pico-coated Dover shoe that kind of came up to here with a little zip down the back or something would be a little bit faster than that.
So start gaffer taping the front, fine.
The socks that we do have a like a seam up the front of them,
Ah.
like either side of the leg, which we're going to test with Chris in a bit. And they absolutely crush everything.
Okay.
At the time that you spend, the percentage of the time you spend more at lower yaw. Yaw is the angle of the wind that attacks the rider. So if you're standing still and there's a crosswind, that would be a 90 degree yaw angle. As you start to move, that yaw angle, that angle of the wind on the body decreases loads. And when you're cycling, like at any reasonable speed, like over 25-30k an hour, the wind angle decreases more and more and more. If it's a 90 degree crosswind, obviously if you're going into a headwind, it's a very slight wind angle. So when you're designing components and kit and stuff like that, you need to focus more towards the lower yaw angles than the higher ones. In the past, companies have tried to focus on kind of 12, 13, 14, 15 degrees, but now people have come to the realization that you need to focus more at kind of like 0 to 8, 0 to 7.5. So that's what we do with our stuff. And you can actually see with this graph that one of the things that we've designed, trip socks, which we'll show in Chris, get worse as you go over 10 degrees. But that's the point, because you spend less of your time at the higher yaws.
Okay.
And it's much, much, much better at the low.
Okay, that makes sense.
Because you can see that your chin is now lower than the level of the highest point of your hands. It's a bit more compact. You're further forward in the saddle, which helps the leg extension a bit, and the gap between your helmet and the back is improved.
That's
too.
really noticeable on the helmet, isn't it? Maybe this is how bloody Tamfield didn't get to the start line.
Hello toes underneath. Are you trying to get them off? What are you trying to do? Over your legs there. Okay. Right. So these are not UCI legal?
These are not UCI legal because
No.
they come more than halfway up your shin. So UCI, you're allowed to have things that come halfway up your shin. But the idea of these is trip strips that are basically sewn onto the outside edges that go on either side of your shin, like that. And the logic behind it is it basically trips the airflow to help keep it attached around the back of your calf.
Yeah.
The other
And
bit
they
then-
make a big difference.
They make a huge difference, yeah. So going from bare legs with nothing on to these would be between kind of 6 and 8 watts depending on the rider. If you just imagine like the width of your leg compared to the down tube of a bike, if you imagine like you're trying to aero up your leg in some way to make it a bit more aero, that's what these do. That's the logic behind them. Also, you've got hairy legs and you don't want to shave. This is a good option as well.
You got one on?
So how are the CDAs of these guys looking compared to the most aero people you've ever seen?
most aero people we've ever seen, that's always a tough one, because the super aero riders just crush everyone. Chris's CDA is actually looking pretty good. So Chris is winning so far. Chris's CDA is better than George.
What's that?
My CDA is on point.
Yeah, but I think that it's different, because we want to make sure that we don't try and max out Chris's CDA. We don't want to try and make him get his aerodynamic drag too low that it affects his comfort. With George, we've got the opportunity to get a bit more aggressive, so when we go to the tunnel, we're going to do a bit more work on the front end with George to try and get lower. We're already up on your baseline, so I think George has actually made probably more improvements wattage wise than Chris has so far.
A bit smug there, he is.
Legend on this.
So Chris is currently about 14 watts up off baseline, and George is about 17.5 watts up. But that's only going to get better as we go into the tunnel. Today is more about just getting an overview of your positions, how you respond to riding the bike in a real world environment, and what we'll do in a couple of hours is fine tune from there.
Oh,
That was actually, well, I mean, I've been out 5 or 6 times, each time doing like 20 laps at 300 watts. Yes.
are you supposed to be riding at 300 watts?
I'm a little bit poofed out now.
They didn't tell you how to ride at 300 watts.
That's the only speed I know how to ride at.
So I reckon this video I'm going to split into 2 parts, because otherwise it's going to be really long. We're going to go for the best part of the day, lunch, and then head to the wind tunnel. He's excited about that. Catch you guys in a minute.